We will have to race through the rest of our far less important points from here. I know that you were watching the England-New Zealand series, the women's series, which concluded with the third T20, went right down to the end.
Yeah, it feels weird changing gears from talking about a death cult to talking about a sort of a brilliant game of cricket at Taunton last week. But we'll give it my best shot. Jeff, did you know that Amy Satterthwaite has the best bowling figures for any cricketer in T20 international cricket at Taunton? 6 for 17 she took down there as a 20-year-old bowling seam up in 2007. So that might have partly been why Sophie Devine backed her to bowl at the very death, and it didn't quite play out. Satterthwaite bowls off spin these days, and a big juicy full toss which Sophia Dunkley whacked away to get the win by, I think it was 4 wickets, but with like 2 balls to spare. One of those games of cricket, Jeff, where you didn't really know who was in the lead, so to speak. The win viz would have been all over the place. And reflected the fact that it was a really balanced series with England winning comprehensively at Chelmsford, New Zealand bouncing back superbly in Sophie Devine's 100th game at Hove, and then this final game, it did show some green shoots for New Zealand. Brooke Halliday, towards the end of New Zealand's innings, bashing about 5 boundaries in 2 overs. I think they hit 50 in the final 4, which got them up to where they needed to be competitive. I think about 150 or thereabouts. Bates back in the runs after missing out twice. Devine back in form with the ball. Kasparek taking 3 wickets, including getting on a hat-trick inside the power play. So whilst I share your view, Jeff, that New Zealand have some pretty considerable structural issues in terms of setting up for a home World Cup in March and being competitive in the next T20 tournament, I think they are going better right now than they have been for a little while, with the next generation slowly sort of having its say. Mentioned Brooke Halliday. It was Maddie Green in the previous game.
She had a couple of good moments in the T20s against Australia as well, not so long ago.
Her record, it's little bits, right? It's tiny. Her record's dismal. It really is dreadful. But it's just little things you see and you think maybe they can sort of find something there. There's something to work with there. Lee Kasparek getting back in the wickets, having copped a pounding in the first game of the series. So now we move to the one-dayers. Danny White back in the runs for England as well. That was enough to get her into the one-day squad. I think she made 35 of the 40 runs that England made in the power play, something like that. So White's back into the one-day squad. Likewise, Kate Cross. Likewise, Lauren Winfield-Hill. And Charlie Dean, who didn't play in the T20s, the 20-year-old all-rounder. Let's call her a sort of a batting all-rounder. Bowls quite useful off-spin, plays for the Vipers and played for the Spirit in the 100. Been on that pathway for a couple of years too through the Kia Super League. She'll presumably get her debut at some stage in the 3 games that start on Thursday at Bristol. Then we go Worcestershire, Derbyshire, Leicestershire and Canterbury in the space of about 8 days. So it's going to be a very, very busy week for me. But can't wait. It's been a good series so far.
Matthew Hayden is the new coach of Pakistan for the T20 World Cup. Who saw this coming when Miss Farrell Huck waved his way out the door, a week ago, when Wako Yunus went with him, potentially because they weren't too keen on the squad they'd been given. Bit of trend in that. Rashid Khan as well quit as Afghanistan captain because they picked all the blokes from the 2015 World Cup to be his T20 World Cup squad for 2021. But Matthew Hayden and Vernon Philander. That's the coaching duo for Pakistan for the T20 World Cup. What's going on there? I can't understand a word Matthew Hayden says. How's he going to put across his coaching philosophies about the history of Tasmania or whatever it is?
Well, this was my main concern. There is a cultural language barrier a lot of the time with Pakistan for players that don't speak English as a first language. And Matthew Hayden, his communication style is unique. And they said in their statement that he is Australian, has the experience of winning World Cups, and is a great player himself. All of those things are true. He's most certainly Australian. He certainly won World Cups, and he's certainly a phenomenal cricketer. Whether that translates to getting the best out of the Pakistan side, well, I'm not going to judge that for the time being. No comment. But he and Vernon Philander might have some good nights out when running that team. It kind of took me from left field. I didn't realise that Matthew Hayden was in the market for a coaching gig. I thought he was quite settled.
I don't think he knew either.
Yeah, well, he gets a lot of gigs, right? He works for the BCCI, doing internationals for India. I think he does the IPL.
Yeah,
does some stuff for
lots of
Channel 7. So, he's got makes a good living out of the game. So I didn't necessarily think that he'd be doing an international job, but it's only for the World Cup. Maybe it's just a nice short-term gig. Might do it for 2 months and then the situation normal. But yeah, it'll be fun.
Nothing to
Put it this
lose.
way.
If they win, take the credit. If they don't,
that's possibly the case. But remember, since the last T20 World Cup, back in March 2016, it'll be 5.5 years between T20 World Cups. Pakistan have been the number one ranked team in the world for the vast majority of that 5.5 year window. They're not going there.
But not in the last couple of years, though.
No, mate, not in the last 18 months. In the last 18 months, they've given that crown over to Australia, India, and England at different points. But more often than not, Pakistan have been a real force in the shortest form. So I think they're going to that tournament with high expectations. They should make the semi-finals. They should be threatening to win the thing. So, it might be the case that Matthew Hayden's a World Cup winning coach. It could happen.
This is a guy whose contribution to T20 cricket, as best I can remember, is using the mongoose bat in the IPL, pulling out the old mongoose. The dodgiest bat company that's ever lived. The most incompetent, certainly. The ones who were the key backers of the career of chronic cricket fraud Adrian Shankar, who just believed every word that he said and kept trying to flog him to franchises around the world, despite the fact that he'd never hit a cricket ball in his life. I mean, that was what Haydos brought to the table. Bring out the old mongoose and whack 40 off 20 balls with it and take your sponsorship money. So, all right, good luck, Pakistan. I hope it works out for you.